completely unnecessary suffering.
Yeah. Is it a doctrine that someone's come up with, or is it just literally...
It's not so much a doctrine, it's the ideas that I've found within certain writings that I've made my own, in certain sense, like Kropotkin, I pronounce his name probably, but and reading about quite a lot about the Spanish Civil War and the anarchists within that, which I really enjoyed learning about. And then it was a tragedy, but maybe that's how things go. They were betrayed and massacred.
Oh dear.
Yeah. By the communists.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
And anarchists would see themselves as even further left than the communists.
I think that's a way of looking at it, but there's different. Obviously, true anarchism shouldn't be defined, because it should just be no hierarchies of power.
Okay.
Which I don't agree with in the real world, because it can't be implemented. But it's like, I shouldn't try and make you do what I want you to do.
Has it ever come close? Have we ever come close to that?
What do you mean?
To an anarchic society. I mean, in a way, we have anarchy, don't we?
What do you mean?
Because this is just random chaos, and there are police, there are rules, there are whatever. But what if I decide to be a Romany traveller and live outside and opt out of society? Like we've mentioned before, am I not just following anarchy in my own reality?
It would depend on what your personal definition would be, but not to be so vacuous. I'll say that possibly, but what I mean is, like, you're going to have restrictions by virtue of our nature. Like, we've got restrictions upon how we can live within the world, and I think. And
so there is physical laws. There's laws of gravity.
Right, and the fact that you need certain things in order to be able to live and be successful. And you know, one of the major ones, social interaction.
Okay.
And can you have rules? And can you have social interaction without structure and rules? No. Can they be spontaneously devised on the fly? No. Are they hardwired into us? Yes, they are. So this is the thing I came to with far radical anarchist thought, is that on a small scale, in a little community that you could build with highly select individuals that you consider to be your kin, it could work in a certain sense, but nothing greater than that. I think that's maybe how it should be. If you want to live like that, you can.
Okay.
There's communes, you know?
Yeah. Would you like to live like that?
For a period of time, quite possibly.
Okay.
To learn, because I want to learn about self-sufficient living.
There's a guy at Speaker's Corner from the Rainbow Society.
I'm instantly opposed.
Okay.
No, I'm joking.
You don't like George and Zippy?
No, I'm joking. I'm just saying, like, it's a funny name.
That's all.
Well, what's he saying?
That he lives on a commune. Thank you very much. Thank you. They live in a society, or there's a society where they grow their own food, and it's literally a commune. I hope I've got the name right. Was it Rainbow?
Let me pass this to you.
Yeah, thank you. Really, thank you very much.
Take care.
Of course it does. Lovely. Yeah, the Rainbow.
That's great, thanks.
He's a hippie-looking chap. You'll be surprised to know.
Nice.
And he's appeared on my channel before, and he sang a song that they all sing around the campfire, I presume. And it seems like he has found what you're looking for. A commune where people live together in a sustainable environment, and they live off the land, and they reap what they sow, and they share everything.
That sounds good.
He's found, what was that word you used? Communitas.
Exactly.
Yeah. You said for a time you'd like to, not forever.
Yeah.
Why not?
Oh, that's a complex question, because I feel that I need to do other things in the world. I don't want to just live in isolation.
Okay.
I could. I don't want to.
I believe in Buddhist teaching, the idea is that everyone should live as a monk for a time. And the monk survives on alms, on people's charity. He sits with his bowl. And I think we did mention this before. We look down on people that do that. in the West, when we call them beggars and vagrants. But in the East, that's a choice that everyone is encouraged to make at some point.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. I was aware of that, just I didn't consider it in this light. One thing I was going to bring up in the previous thing when we were talking about the racist idea. The homelessness in London, for example, or never mind homelessness in general, but we'll take this because we're here and we can see it, you know. So for me, this is a very quite emotional issue. Like, so I want to say why when we can witness, I would say, completely unnecessary suffering constantly every day. You see it. It's here. It's real. It's visceral. You want to obviously ignore it, most people, and maybe there's reasons for that. But why are we not talking about that? Why are we talking about, well, there's like I said, with the barrier to entry about, you can just say, oh my God, that's terrible, oh my God. You're not doing anything about it.
I'll tell you why. Because it's mainly men that are homeless.
That's an interesting way of looking at it.
We have no sympathy for men. Maybe. What do you think? Had that one occurred to you?
Oh, I very much agree.
Okay. No, I sense that might be part of it. Because, I mean, any charity that wants to raise funds is going to show you the picture of the woman or the child looking starving. They're not going to say, give your money to this military-aged man.
And there's biological reasons why that's the case, I would argue.
Let's hear them.
Well, just very simple ones. Is that men in the human species, men are expendable. Women and children are not expendable.
Okay, women and children first. You would have agreed with that on the Titanic.
It's our entire history.
Okay.
It's barely up to me to agree or not.
Okay,
it's just our entire history.
That is the priority.
And in a certain way, of course, I would agree.
Well, what about the argument that on the IQ spectrum, as measured in IQ tests, men gravitate towards the higher and lower ends, and women tend to be in the middle?
That's right.
There are outliers everywhere, and I'm not saying anything about people as a whole, but there are more really thick men and more really intelligent men.
That's right.
Is that why there are more male homeless, or could that be a factor?
It definitely could be a factor, absolutely, of course. Because intelligence is tied to some sort of success, you know.
We said we tried to disagree on something. I hope someone in the comments can blast that argument out of the water and say, no, IQ is not a true measure of intelligence, but...
Well, it's one level of measuring it, for sure. It's impossible to deny. Of course, there's other levels, but
So what should be done about the homeless? We've explained it. What is the right thing to do? And do you give the drug addict £5? I mean, now I'm stereotyping, and not all homeless have a drug problem. I think we kid ourselves and say, oh, I can't give him money, he'll only go and spend it on drugs.
Here's something interesting.
Go on.
There's going to be, I'm not exactly an expert, especially not in statistics, but this is something that I know, is that a lot of people that end up on the street are suffering psychologically. And psychological health is something that we don't talk about in our society, and maybe in all societies because of its negative, because of it, obviously it has severe negative connotations. But psychological health needs to be treated extremely seriously. We talk all the time about our physical health. That's one half. Maybe it's even lesser. The body cannot function without the mind. The mind can be injured, the mind can take damage, the mind can be healed. These are things we do not discuss because they're very hard problems.
And is that sickness physiological? Because for some people...
You mean in the brain?
Yeah, is it in the brain or is it in the spirit or whatever?
Right.
We're trying to use language to describe something we can't tangibly get hold of now, but where is that?
So the first thing is not a psychologist, not a neuroscientist. I barely know much about it, but what I could say is that there's very clear evidence that a lot of it is physical. It's in the brain structure. It's in what's happened in the brain. It's in the chemical nature of it, and also and by virtue of your existence, like when you live, things impact your mind. They impact upon you, and that has positive or negative effects, like post-traumatic stress disorder, for example, that we were talking about war and about communitas and about how people, some veterans long to go back to war because of these things, and when they're out of it, they feel everything is meaningless and they get disgusted by petty things. I understand that mentality very well. right? So,
and prisoners that can't function outside the order of prison.
Right, exactly. That's the order it put on them,
Yeah.
and then it takes taken away, and they've got nothing. Like if you take someone's moral structure out from under them as well, how do you expect them to function? You could say that's happened to the West.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. We long for order. I think working with children and teaching, they will push the boundaries to reassure themselves where they are.
Right.
And if there are no boundaries, they will feel very insecure.
You work with children. You're a teacher?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Teach secondary at the minute. I'm working with the kids that have been expelled. Pupil referral unit.
That's very interesting. That's good. I'm also a teacher.
No, I remember you saying. Yeah. And you teaching adults, right?
I've done. I've done the whole spectrum. Yeah. But that's interesting. We'll talk about that maybe later. So you're right about the boundary. Very interesting you said that. And I would just also like to add, when our conversation about the rational male, the same thing happens in relationships.
Okay.
The boundary testing.
Okay.
Yeah. But that might be a